Hello, welcome to Spotlight on Education. I'm VIVAN CHRISTMAN, your host. This evening, we're going to have an opportunity to get to know Kim Hathaway, who's a CPA, a mother, and a homeschooler. I guess that's the right term to use?
That's right.
You teach your children in your home for those who are not familiar with it.
Right.
Well, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Kim, as we get started, I think it would be interesting for our audience to learn a little bit more about you so that when we get to the point that we're going to talk about homeschooling and its advantages and why you're into it, they can have a better understanding. Let's start where you grew up and what life was like as a child for you.
Okay. I grew up in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and Rocky Mount was a little bit bigger than Sanford is now. When I lived there, it's a lot bigger now, but it was a fun place to live. It was small enough that it felt safe and secure, and you knew just about everybody you saw anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have two sisters, and grew up. They're real close in age to me, and so we grew up just playing with each other's friends and enjoyed school. I was a good student, and I loved school. It was a lot of
did
fun.
you?
I did. I loved school. I loved excelling at school and challenging myself, and
So your major competition then was yourself?
yeah. Yes. And just enjoyed being with friends and being in clubs and doing all kinds of extracurricular
So
activities.
not just the academic side of it, but the social side of it as well.
Oh yes, definitely.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, what was your favorite subject?
Probably math.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in the early grades?
Even in the early grades, it was always a fun subject for me and never hard. I think sometimes people are naturally inclined to enjoy math and be good at it, and for other people it's such a struggle.
Yeah.
And a real difficult point, and not a fun point at all, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, and I guess that helps to explain some of your eventual career choice to become a CPA.
Right.
And a lot of math in that.
A lot of math in that. And my father was a CPA.
Oh, was he?
Educated as a CPA. He eventually worked for Hardee's Food Systems, which is in Rocky Mount. He was the treasurer there. But I kind of followed in his footsteps in becoming a CPA, and really enjoyed that part of my life.
Wow. Well, when you were young, who were your early childhood heroes?
Probably my father was the main one. I thought he was the most important person in the world. I thought he had a wonderful job, and we'd go marching into his office like we owned the world, and I really looked up to him, not just because of the job he had, but because he worked really hard and was the kind of person who always did the right thing, no matter who or what was involved. He really enjoyed the people he worked with, and wasn't real concerned with status. He just loved people and loved doing the right thing. And so I'd have to say he was probably my biggest hero.
Well, sounds like that was a terrific role model too then.
It was.
Well, that's neat. Well, so then a lot of success in the early years in
Right.
school.
Right.
And a great role model then who was showing you a lot about how to be successful and work with people.
Right.
And then as you got a little bit further along, let me step back just a moment and address the relationship with your sisters. You said there were three girls in the
Right,
family?
3 girls.
And that you were all very close.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do, Kim, is understand, and maybe it's completely unrelated, but maybe how some of those relationships might have later led to your decision to
Right.
homeschool your own children.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest things that relates is that we had a wonderful family life. Ours was the home that everybody came to play and to
kidding.
spend the night, and we just had a real rich home life. My mother especially worked hard to make home a comfortable place to be and to bring friends, and we had wonderful family vacations, and family was just a very important.
It's kind of a center of
came
your...
first.
Yeah. That's neat. Was your mother a full-time homemaker, or...
She taught kindergarten in the early years before she had us, and then after the three of us came along in quick succession, she just became a homemaker. But she was always teaching. She's somebody met her here in Sanford one time and asked me, "Is your mom a teacher?"
Oh, no
just
kidding.
Because that's the way she relates to children and to anybody. She just looks for the lessons in every part of life.
Wow.
You know, in something that's growing or in something you're baking, there's always a lesson to be learned or some characteristic, you know, some quality to be looking for to instill in yourself. And so I think, you know, she was just a natural teacher, and that probably contributed to my later becoming a homeschooler. She taught Sunday school, she taught Bible school, so she was a homemaker, but she taught all the time.
Oh, is that right? Wow. Yeah, I can see how that role model example there also would have contributed
Right.
to your courage. I suppose it takes a bit of courage to,
Absolutely.
you know, to keep your kids at home and try to train
Yes.
and teach them. Now, how many children do you have?
I have 5 children.
5 children. And age range?
The oldest is almost 9, and the youngest just turned 3. So they're all about 16 months apart.
That's a handful.
It is.
And you have twins in there?
No,
I was
no
thinking
twins.
somehow that you had twins.
No twins.
I was trying to double up on you.
No, I'm glad they came one at a time.
Yeah.
I admire people who have twins. It's a big step all at once.
Yeah, it certainly can be. All right, we'll take a short break here. Before we do, let me tell you about another local business that's been a real friend to education here in Lee County, and that's Muncie Wiebe of Heritage Concrete Service. He's worked with us to support several different activities that we've worked on in raising money for school systems and in support of the school systems. If you have an opportunity to, if you need anything in the concrete area, give Heritage Concrete a call and let them have an opportunity to work with you. And if you see Muncie, tell him thanks for, or any of the other employees out there at Heritage, for all their support and help for us here in Lee County in the school systems. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Spotlight on Education. I'm VIVAN CHRISTMAN, your host. This evening, we have an opportunity to talk with Kim Hathaway, who, as I said in the introduction, is a CPA, a mother, and a homeschooler. She is teaching her children at home. Brave thing to do, I might add.
Thank you.
You told us a few moments ago that you have 5 children, and I guess by keeping them home and schooling them, you don't get much of a break.
Not much of a break. Only when my husband comes home.
Well, I'm sure that's very helpful.
Yes.
That's good. Let's, Kim, I want to explore a little bit more on your educational choices and the things that led up to you deciding to get involved in homeschool. We talked about the early years and the grades and your heroes and such. As you got to the end of your high school period and decided to look forward to your educational career, what were the things that influenced your choice to become a CPA and then eventually, maybe it's not a career, but I think it is, to be a
Right.
teacher on a full-time basis in your home?
Absolutely. Coming out of high school, I knew I wanted to go into a business curriculum somewhere. I wasn't sure I wanted to be a CPA, but went to school at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill and enrolled in the business school there and enjoyed all my classes, and for a couple of years still looked around at different avenues I might take with a degree in business. But then when it came time to go ahead and enroll in the accounting program, if I was going to, I decided that I wanted to do that and figured I could either go ahead and become a CPA or at least use that knowledge in another business setting. And I was there during the time when they were changing over to a master's of accounting. And
yes.
the year that I graduated, we had the option. We could either stay another semester and go ahead and get a master's, or graduate and go ahead and start working. And I already had a job lined up, so I opted to get out of school.
That seemed better at the moment.
It did, and I figured another year or so of work experience would about even me out with somebody with a master's degree.
Sure.
So I looked into a couple of other job opportunities, but really concentrated on the CPA
Mhm.
and accounting firms, and went to work for Touche Ross in the Triangle, and had debated whether to work with them or Deloitte Haskins
Right.
and Sales, and they eventually merged, and I was able to
So you
work
worked
with
for both of
So
them.
my mom said it's not often you get that opportunity to work for your top two choices. So I really enjoyed the people I worked with and the experience. I started out in auditing and got to see a lot of different types of companies, both private and public, not-for-profits, and it really opened my eyes a lot to just what you learn in school is so different from the real world.
Real world,
And
yes.
not just the skills you use, but what everybody does to
Mhm.
actually see businesses working
Yeah.
is really interesting. And then transferred into the tax department and started doing tax returns, and I really enjoyed that too.
Wow, you're a
And
glutton for punishment, Kim.
I really enjoyed it. It wasn't long after that, though, that we were expecting our first child, and they were wonderful. I went on leave when I had her and stayed out for about 8 months and came back for busy season. And they worked with me. They let me come back part-time, and pretty much on my terms. They were really supportive, trying to figure out a flexible schedule that would work for a working mother, and I was just really pleased at how that worked out.
That's tremendous. That says a lot for the people that are involved
Well,
there
it
in those
does.
companies.
They were being really progressive in their
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you hear stories that tend to lean the other way, and it's refreshing
That's true.
to know that.
I felt really blessed to have the opportunity to go ahead and start our family, but to continue keeping my fingers in the working world.
Yeah. So, how long did you continue to work after you had children?
I worked part-time until I had our third child, and after that busy season, I had him in May. He waited
Yeah, that was
until
nice.
after the 15th of April to come, and after that, I just felt like there wasn't enough of me to go around. I didn't feel like I was doing a good job at work or at home because I was divided in my thoughts and in my efforts and time, so we decided it was time to just stay home and be mom.
Wow. When did you decide to pick up your second, or probably your third career? It's
Right.
saying that
Mom is
homemaking is your
second.
first career, and then
Right.
CPA, and then. But when did you? How did you start to toy with the idea of homeschooling?
I knew people who homeschooled. I had friends who did. We lived in Cary right after we got married, and I knew people there who homeschooled, and I always told them I would never be able to do that because I didn't think I had the patience for it or the
Sure.
ability. Most of the people I knew had been teachers, had
Okay, so had that
education
as
in their
a profession.
background, and I thought it was just a natural for them, but could never see myself doing it. But I remember one of my friends telling me, she said, Kim, Elisa's only 3, but I see you teaching her every day. You just teach her 3-year-old things. And
Yeah.
when she's ready for school, you'll be ready to teach 5-year-old things and 6-year-old things. And she was right. You grow up with your children. But when it was time to enroll our first child in kindergarten, everywhere I turned, the radio, the newspaper, I kept seeing information about homeschooling. And so I felt like the Lord wanted me to at least consider this possibility that I had thought I'd never do. And there's a conference every May that North Carolinians for Home Education put on in Winston-Salem. And it's a really big conference. They have seminars and workshops and a huge trade show of all the curriculum and resources. And I went there with one of my sisters who was also considering homeschooling, and just got sold on it being right for our family, that it was just God's best for our family right now. And so that's how we got started, and we have just been taking each year one at a time.
Does this North Carolina Association help you with curriculum and training, teaching methods and tools?
They provide newsletters where you can share information with other homeschoolers. They provide access to resources, and at this conference, you just wouldn't believe, they have a whole downstairs of the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem.
Which is huge.
filled with vendors selling curriculum, and you can buy curriculum, a whole kindergarten curriculum all in a box, or you can pick and choose from different ones what you feel like is best for your child depending on their learning styles and abilities. And so they don't, the organization itself doesn't give you that help, but they provide access to those resources.
Yeah. So is there some sort of accreditation or anything that you go through?
In North Carolina, all that they require is that you have a high school diploma at a minimum, and that you notify the state that you are going to homeschool your child.
So they don't get you for truancy or something?
Right. Some states you have to ask permission to homeschool. In our state, you just notify the state that you're going to homeschool, and they have the Department of Non-Public Education, which oversees all private schools, is what we fall under, and so we're considered a private school. Each homeschool is a private school. Other states have different laws. In some states, you go under what they call an umbrella, where you are part of a bigger group of homeschoolers, and they have a little more involvement in checking up on your curriculum and testing and things like that.
One more question for you, and then we'll take a break. I'm thinking back to what you said in the first segment as we talked about your early formative years and the fact that your mother was a sort of a natural teacher, always teaching you.
Right.
Does that now kind of help you and serve as some sort of role model for you?
Oh, it does. I find myself saying things and I think, oh, that sounds just like Carol Mom, which is what my children call her. Sounds just like something she would say, or sometimes in a situation where I don't know what to do and I think, oh, now how would Mom have, gotten something really good out of this situation? But yes, because really that's what homeschooling is about. Taking all of life and learning from it in a family setting, and just looking for what you can learn out of everything that's around you and out of your relationships with each other. And it's not just the books, the reading, writing, all that.
So drawing it all in then to
Exactly.
the educational experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll be back in just a few moments. Before we take a break, I want to thank the Sentinel Rotary Club, who sponsors Spotlight on Education. The Sentinel Rotary Club, just like all other Rotary clubs, has a motto of putting service above self. They try to find ways in each community to make the community better. We'll be back in just a few moments, and we'll be joined in our next segment with two of Kim's children. So please stay with us and join us again in a moment for more Spotlight on Education. Welcome back to Spotlight on Education. I'm VIVAN CHRISTMAN, your host. This evening we have the opportunity to talk with Kim Hathaway, and now we're joined with two of her daughters, Elisa and Hannah. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's take just a moment, and I'd like to ask you guys a couple of questions about what it's like to be involved in homeschooling. Elisa, what's your favorite part of homeschooling?
I don't have to go to school every day and stay there for a long time. And,
So you can just get up in the morning and you don't have to take a bus ride, you just stay right there?
Yeah, and I get longer breaks and stuff.
Oh, I see. So there are some advantages that I had never thought about. Yeah, you can take breaks. Hannah, do you ever go to school in your pajamas?
No.
Is that not permitted?
No.
You have to get up and get dressed for school just like all the other kids?
No.
What's your morning routine like as you get ready for school?
We just get up and make up our beds and get dressed.
And so you get dressed, and then do you have a special room in the house that you go for school?
No. Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. Elisa, let me ask another question. You're 9, is that correct?
I will be in May.
In May, so you're almost 9. So how many years then does this make that you've been involved in homeschool? 4th year? Okay. All right. I want to ask you, I guess just directly, but what are the things compared to what you hear other kids talk about in public school or private school in a more normal setting, if I can call it that? Maybe that's traditional. Thank you. Are there things that you miss or that you wish you could do that you're not able to do because of homeschool?
Yes, I don't get to see all my friends every day. But with homeschool, we have a park day every week on Thursdays.
Oh, do you? Where you get together with other kids that are in homeschool?
And then we have 4 sessions. It's called Tuesday School every year. We get together with other people in our homeschool group. There's 2 sessions in the spring and 2 sessions in the fall.
Wow, so a lot of you get together and then you get to make friends and play that way.
Well,
And
we have classes.
oh, you have classes during
it's
that time.
broken up by age groups, and we have, and it's in the afternoon. So after we've had our regular school for the day, we have changes from session to session. But this time they did a class on the westward expansion and another one on Indians. And sometimes it's art. Sometimes there was a poetry class.
Wow.
So it just varies, and different moms teach different classes, so they get an opportunity to have somebody besides their own mom for a teacher for at least a day.
At least a day here and there.
Afternoon. Yeah.
Well, okay. How many people are involved in homeschooling here in Lee County? Is there any kind of number, or do you have any idea?
In Lee County, probably about 50 families, I would say.
That's quite a few.
Our Tuesday school is with Harnett County, some Harnett
Oh, as
County
well.
families also. There's also Chatham County involved that do things with our Sanford homeschool group sometimes. So really a pretty large number of homeschoolers in the area.
Wow, that's a lot larger than I had anticipated. Kim, we're running out of time on the program, but I'd like to ask you one last question, and maybe we could spend a minute on it. As you, with, I guess, 2 major career hats on now, one being a mother and the other being a teacher, professional teacher,
Right.
What dreams do you have?
To see my children grow up with a love for learning. What we learn is part of what's important, but just loving to learn and knowing how to learn on their own, and learning how to become independent, of course, is every parent's goal for their child. But to love learning and to love helping others learn, and most importantly, though, for my children to grow up as children with godly characters, children who have integrity and who are trustworthy and dependable and pleasant to be around, and who work diligently. And it takes a lot of time to instill character like that in your children. And that can be accomplished some in traditional school settings, but
Sure.
we have just chosen for our family to do it ourselves at home.
Well, it's a brave and a wonderful challenge, I think, to take that responsibility on. You know, to think about a curriculum from grade K or maybe preschool all the way up. Do you anticipate continuing with this?
I know we'll continue for at least a few more years, but we take 1 year at a time, and of course I'm constantly reevaluating, am I doing the right thing, have we chosen the right curriculum, and even among my own children I have different learning styles and different interests, and it's a lot to balance, especially with, I'm homeschooling 3 of them right now and bringing 2 more on.
That's a lot. Well, we're just about out of time. I want to thank everyone in our home audience for being with us tonight. Join us again next week as we will have another interview here on Spotlight for Education.